Hey guys, what I have with me today is the second most expensive camera in Leica's range. It is priced at 14,350 Singapore dollars before tax. It's the Leica M11D. It's a digital rangefinder, but it has no screen. So one of the most expensive cameras in Leica's range is a digital rangefinder that has no screen. What is Leica thinking? Now, before you invest more time watching this video, I must confess that I'm not fluent or up to date with the latest or greatest in digital cameras. This is not your tech-savvy review either. If that's the kind of thing that you're after, then to be honest, this is not the camera for you. Instead, I'm here to share my experience as an analog photographer using the M11D, which Leica has kindly loaned it to me together with the 35mm semi-lux lens. But I'm just going to review the camera body today and not the lens. That goes without saying that this is not a paid review. Everything I share is based on my personal hands-on experience with this camera for 2 weeks. And even though this channel is about analog photography, this video is not about the analog versus digital debate either. Instead, it's about exploring a bigger question, and that question is, why does this camera even exist? So before we attempt to answer that question, let us rewind back to 2018, which is 6 years ago, and talk about its predecessor, which is the Leica M10-D. I think the M10-D was designed to emulate the feel of an actual Leica M film camera. It featured a film advance lever, but because it's a digital camera, there's no film to advance. The film advance lever is just for aesthetic reasons only. It has a removable base plate. So if you are familiar with the Leica M film cameras, the removable base plate is for you to access the film chamber so that you can load your film. But for the M10D's case, the removable base plate is for you to access the battery and the SD card. Also, similarly to the M11D, the M10D does not have a screen. And because of all these features combined, the M10D felt a little gimmicky. I understand that it is trying to emulate the feel of a Leica M film camera, but I think they added elements that were purely for nostalgic purposes only. After 6 years, they managed to finally distill down the essence of what shooting on film is about, and that is to not have a screen and not have instant feedback. The M11D somehow feels like a step towards the right direction. Leica has taken the effort to remove all the gimmicks. There's no more fake advance lever, there's no removable base plate. Instead, they have focused on creating a more refined experience. And they do all this while still retaining the essence of what shooting on a film camera should feel like. The ISO dial has also been moved to the back of the camera. So just like how a analog Leica M camera would have the ISO dial at the back, that actually acts as a reminder for you to know like what film you're actually shooting in the camera. Whereas on the M11D, the ISO dial is actually functional, so you can actually change your ISO settings using that dial. So they didn't just move it there for nostalgic reason, it actually has a purpose and a function. And I personally prefer the ISO dial to be at the back of the camera because as a film shooter, I'm used to being committed to the ISO setting because once I load my film in, that is the ISO that I have to stick with. I'm not gonna adjust the ISO dial on the fly, you know. I don't need it to be on the top of the camera. So moving the ISO dial to the back of the camera makes more sense for me, and I actually prefer it to be at that position. And because of all these changes that they made, the M11D starts to feel a bit more honest. It is not trying to pretend that it's a film camera anymore. Yes, it still doesn't have a screen, and somehow it is priced higher than the M11P, which technically on paper is an identical camera spec-wise. The only difference is the M11P has a screen and it's actually cheaper than the M11D. Personally, I'm not a fan of screens on cameras. Using a screen reminds me of taking pictures using my phone. You know, the kind of pictures I take using my phone are the really practical ones. It's for me to check with my partner whether this is the right brand of shampoo that I should buy, for example. And I feel that with a screen involved, people tend to ask to see the images after the shot is taken, which will inevitably disrupt the moment and break your flow. And it actually works against you rather than for you. I agree that maybe for staged or commercial shoots, a screen could be invaluable. But for your personal work, your everyday photography, I find that the experience is much more enjoyable without the screen. Without the screen, there's this element of uncertainty, much like shooting film. And talking about uncertainty, I was so excited that I just got the M11D that I just went out straight to shoot without even realizing that I was actually shooting at the lowest resolution. But that didn't matter because even at the lowest resolution, the image quality is actually quite good. So the only way to change your image settings without a screen is to use the Leica's photo app. The app also allows you to view, tweak and download your images onto your phone, to your desktop or to your laptop. I would say that the app is pretty straightforward. You can use me as a benchmark because I'm not very tech savvy. I feel that if I can figure it out, then that means it's quite intuitive and you shouldn't have any problems using the app. I must say that the M11D is genuinely enjoyable to use, and that's important because I feel that a great camera makes you want to go out and shoot more. You know, the more you shoot, the better you get. Eventually, the camera should just disappear and become an extension of you as a photographer. And that is what I feel I like about photography and being in the moment. It's about really, how much are you really going out there to shoot? How much are you interacting with the people? How much are you immersed in the environment that you're in? There isn't much to talk about it, actually. There's no bells and whistles to this camera. They don't even have the red Leica logo on it. And to be honest, that is what I really like about it. I personally feel that we should spend less time talking about our gear and more time going out there to shoot. You know what? It's too noisy here. Teo Peng Siu Tai. So, final thoughts. Will I miss shooting with the M11D? Absolutely. I had a lot of fun the past 2 weeks just bringing the camera out to shoot. It made me change my perspective of what a digital camera could be. The image quality is really fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed the screenless experience. So much so that sometimes I tend to forget that I'm not shooting on film and I try to refrain myself from taking too many shots. But in actual fact, this camera doesn't require film. It doesn't even require an SD card because it has internal memory. Just remember to change your image settings before you get too excited and start to go out there and shoot, I speak from experience. And talking about experience, I still get that feeling of anticipation when I start to download the images onto my com. That feeling you get when you view your images for the first time is kind of like the same feeling I get when I inspect the images on a roll of developed slide film. And I probably have mentioned this already, but I'm going to mention it again. This is not a digital camera trying to be a film camera. I think this is simply just a photographer's camera. It's a tool that's a joy to use. And it makes me want to use it more. Is the price justifiable? Yes, I think it's worth every penny because of its build quality and the quality of the images that you can produce. I mean, it's a Leica, they're a reputable brand. They've been around for centuries and I think they still service all the cameras that they have produced so far. I believe that you'll be using this camera a lot and you'll be using it with the full assurance that in case if anything goes wrong, Leica will be still around to service this camera for you. So will I be getting one for myself? Not at the moment because I still enjoy developing my own film. I like to torture myself. I like the fact that my film cameras are 90% mechanical, They don't rely on electronic parts or batteries to operate. But if for some weird reason the world stopped producing film, then for sure this will be the first camera I'll be purchasing. You can quote me on that. Or, hear me out, if I were to hit 14,350 subscribers within the next 3 months, I will purchase this camera just to give it away. So if that got your attention and you want to stand a chance to win this camera, then this is what you need to do.
Okay, what name?
Ryan Lee.
Ryan Lee.
Ryan Lee.
Much subscribe, share.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.